All right, this is very important for right now. So we are in the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is basically where you remove the leaven of sin, of malice, of wickedness. And also, I want people to understand that the Father uses this time. It is a blessing. It is a gift. All right, people who are trying to deny it, you don't understand the gift. All right, of unleavened bread. It is a very, very special time because this is how God cleanses our hearts and our minds so that we can walk in spirit and in truth and be with Him. And so I was led by the Spirit to read Matthew 27 because Passover and unleavened bread, some people say that they're the same. I'm kind of getting that they're slightly, like it first starts with Passover and then unleavened bread, or maybe like unleavened bread overlaps. But the concept of Passover is the lamb that was slain, right? That removes the sin of the world. And unleavened bread is the process of removing the leaven of sin from your home. God works on our hearts in this time to remove those things and hurts and those kinds of things from us. And I believe that is happening very strongly in the spirit. This is why, Easter to me means nothing. You want to say that it's the resurrection. It's not the resurrection because the resurrection is first fruits, and that's written in the Bible. So people want to be, hard headed and they want to try to protect something that was not even given by God in the first place. I hate to tell you this, but many of you are going to perish in your sins because it is a heart issue to begin with. You don't want to seek out God for understanding, number one. Number two, you want to be right and you want to be wise in your own mind. But those who walk in spirit and in truth are going to be able to recognize these feasts for what they are. And they are going to be counted as worthy for keeping them. So Matthew 27 says, "And morning having come, all the chief priests and elders of the people took counsel against Yeshua so as to put him to death." And so, this is going on right now. When you get on TikTok lives, there are people who just have no understanding of the truth, that love their titles, and they're coming against the people who have the seed of Messiah right now. So it says they want to put him to death. All right, these people are not walking in the spirit of Christ. You have to understand the Pharisees, even though they were claiming God, they weren't really walking in the Spirit of God, and therefore they would do such a thing as this. So it says, "And having bound him, they led him away and delivered him to Pontius Pilate the governor. Then Yehuda, he who delivered him up, having seen that he had been condemned, repented, returned the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and to the elders, saying, I have sinned in delivering up innocent blood." And that's the thing. These people think that they are doing God a favor. No, when they look at what they're doing, they will see that they're only after their own glory and their own position. The Pharisees wanted the best seats, and they wanted to be known by man and be called, elder and teacher and that kind of stuff. And so what ended up happening, they idolized that, and so they took counsel against the Messiah because it was like he was taking that away from them. So they put the innocent to death, including myself. Alright? I'm not happy about it. He said, if you even hate your brother in your heart, you already murdered him spiritually. And these people hate us. Alright? It's no different than Cain and Abel. In fact, God told me yesterday, there was a woman, she brought me up on a panel on TikTok on purpose just to cuss me out because she didn't like what she was assuming what was my character. And so I went to go make a video, and God was like, she's jealous of you. And so that was the case with these ones. So it says, And the chief priest took the silver in pieces. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. So it says, and throwing down the pieces of silver in the dwelling place, he left and went and hanged himself. And the chief priest took the silver pieces and said, it is not right to put them into a treasury, seeing they are the price of blood. So they took counsel and bought with them a potter's field for the burial of strangers. Therefore the field has been called the field of blood until today. Then was filled what was spoken by Yirmiyahu or Jeremiah the prophet, and they took 30 pieces of silver, the price of him who was pierced, on whom they of the children of Israel set a price, and gave them to the potter's field, as Yahshua had ordered me. And Yahshua stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, saying, are you the sovereign of the Yehudim? And Yahshua said to him, you said it, or you say it. And as he was accused by the chief priests and the elders, he answered not. And so that was the thing. Like, she brought me up just to accuse me falsely, because she said, oh, you're intellectualism, and you're so wise in your mind, and you think you know it all. And I said, all the wisdom that I've been given has been given from God. I'm not wise in my own mind. All the knowledge that I've been given has been given from God. I'm not, if I want to know something, I just ask God. And that's something that a lot of people don't do. And so what they do is they try to piece all this different stuff together, and then they come up with their own, and it's like God doesn't want that. He wants his children to ask him, because he's all knowing. All we have to do is ask. And so I have all these videos. I have tons of videos, tons and tons, and it's coming from the knowledge of God, and it's coming from the Spirit of God. It's very rare, all right, that it's coming from me. And so she wasn't pleased with that. And so she started trying to attack my character, and that's when God was like, she's jealous of you. She's jealous of your not intellect, but wisdom that I've given to you. And she said she had been like following me, and I'm like, all right, well, that kind of sounds like a monitoring spirit. So it says, and Yeshua stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, saying, are you the sovereign of Yehudim? And Yeshua said to him, you say it. And as he was accused by the chief priests and elders, he answered not. Then Pilate said to him, do you not hear how much they witness against you? And he did not answer him, not one word, so that the governor wondered much. And at the festival the governor used to release to the crowd one prisoner whom they wished. And they had then a well-known prisoner called Barabbas. So when they were assembled, Pilate said to them, what do you wish I release to you, Barabbas or Yeshua, who is called Messiah? For he knew that because of envy they had delivered him up. And as he was sitting on the judgment seat, and I also want to say this, none of this stuff is happening just haphazardly. It is happening because the scriptures have to be fulfilled. We are the children of Elohim. We are the descendants of Israel. So what happens in this book happens here. Happens here. All right, it happens here. It's happening. So I get to experience 2 Corinthians, the persecution of Messiah. I'm really feeling like, Lord, take this cup from me. But not my will be done, your will be done. So it says, for he knew because of envy they had delivered him up. And as he was sitting on the judgment seat, his wife sent to him, saying, have none at all to do with that righteous man, for I have suffered much today in a dream because of him. For the chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowds that they should ask for Barabbas and to destroy Yeshua. And the governor answering said to them, which of the two do you wish I release to you? They said, Barabbas. Pilate said to them, what then shall I do with Yeshua, who is called Messiah? They all said to him, "Let him be impelled." So these people, they want to put to death the spirit of truth, life, the way. And the governor said, "Indeed, what evil has he done?" And they were crying out the more, saying, "Let him be impelled." And when Pilate saw that he was governor, saw that he was getting nowhere, but rather an uproar was starting, he took water and washed his hands before the crowd, saying, "I am innocent of the blood of this righteous one. You shall see to it." And all the people answering said, "His blood be on us and on our children." Not a smart idea. So it says, "Then he released Barabbas to them, but having Yeshua whipped, he delivered him over to be impaled. Then the soldiers of the governor took Yeshua into the court and gathered the entire company of soldiers around him. And having stripped him, they put a scarlet robe on him, and plaiting a crown of thorn, they put it on his head and a reed in his right hand. And they kneeled down before him and mocked him, saying, "Greetings, sovereign of Yehudim." And spitting on him, they took the reed and struck him on the head. That's wild. You do that to the King of Kings. That's crazy. And when they had mocked him, they took the robe off of him and put on his garments and put his own garments on him and led him away to be impaled. So these people come and they take the righteous garments of, the prophets, the teachers, whoever God has sent, especially the Messiah, and they strip them off and they mock them and they impel them. And as they were going out, they found a man of Cyrene, Shimon by his name. They compelled him to bear his stake. And when they came to a place called Golgotha, that is to say, the place of the skull, they gave him wine mixed with bile to drink. Actually, they keep playing this movie. It's getting on my nerves. It's called Furiosa. Every time I get on the bus, they're playing this movie. But I think it lightly is connected to this because they take this child who I believe is of a higher kingdom, right? They take the child, they strip the child of all its majesty, teach it how to be ridiculous like them, and then, she ends up becoming just like them, taking the pure children and teaching them to do things that they shouldn't be doing. But yeah, and it's crazy because her mom at the beginning of the movie was crucified. But you know what happened? The moms, I don't know if it's her sister or whatever, but she was like, "Make sure you unalive everyone who has taken the child." God in the Bible told the Israelites, "You better unalive the Canaanites and this group because they're wicked, they're sacrificing kids, whatever." They didn't do it. And so they ended up falling into, the pits. And that's what happened in the movie too. She ended up getting killed because she had mercy on one of the people that was stealing kids and that kind of thing. So it says, and that's the thing, those who lead into captivity go into captivity. Those who kill with the sword die with the sword. You deserve what you get if you're stealing people, all right, unaliving them, all right, you deserve what you get. So it says, "And having impelled them, they divided his garments, casting lots, that they might be filled what was spoken by the prophet. They divided my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. And sitting down, they guarded him there. And they put up over his head the written charge against him. This is Yeshua, the sovereign of the Yehudim. The two robbers were impaled with him, one on the right and another on the left. And those passing by were blaspheming him, shaking their heads and saying, 'You who destroy the dwelling place and build it in 3 days, save yourself. If you are the son of Elohim, come down from the stake.' And likewise the chief priests with the scribes and elders mocking said, 'He saved others. He is unable to save himself. If he is the sovereign of Israel, let him come down from the stake, and we shall believe him.'" And I heard that in the spirit, I think even yesterday. He trusted in Elohim. Let him rescue him now if he desires him. For he said, I am the son of Elohim. And also the robbers who were impelled with him reviled him, saying the same. And from the 6th hour there was darkness over all the land until the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour Yeshua cried out with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani, that is, my El, why have you forsaken me? So actually they did some research on the Kosa language, and they said this is actually Kosa, and it was talking about the Sabbath. But I don't know, because sabachthani sounds like Shabbat. We'll find out, won't we? All the lies that these people have been telling, everything will be revealed. So it says, some of those standing there, having heard, said, this one calls Eliyahu. And immediately one of them ran and took a sponge and filled it with sour wine and put it on a reed and gave it to him to drink. So I'm starting to think this sour wine is like the false doctrines of man, They want to sit there and tell you that, oh, it's Easter, and they want to try to shoot as many false doctrines at you as possible, right? And as many lies at you as possible, so you believe them, so then you basically invite in your own death. So it says, but the rest said, leave it. Let us see if Eliyahu comes and saves him. And Yeshua cried out with a loud voice and gave up his spirit. And see, the veil of the dwelling place was torn in two from top to bottom, and the earth was shaken, and the rocks were split. And the tombs were opened, and many bodies of the set-apart ones who had fallen asleep were raised. And coming out of the tombs after his resurrection, they went into the set-apart city and appeared to many. The set-apart city is Jerusalem, alright? And when the captain and those with him who regarding Yeshua saw the earthquake and all that took place, they feared exceedingly. Truly this was the son of Elohim. So that's what's going to happen with a lot of these people, on TikTok, the sons of Edom, right? They're going to realize that they didn't really have it, they didn't really know, and that they unalived Yeshua through their own actions, because you can't impel him, again, according to Hebrews 10, I think. Alright, and they also unalived his righteous servants. So it says, and many women who followed Yeshua from Galilee attending him were there watching from a distance, among whom were Miriam from Magdala, and Miriam the mother of Jacob and Joseph, and the mother of Zebediah's sons. And when evening came, there came a rich man from Ramathaim named Joseph, who himself had become a taught one in Yeshua. He went to Pilate and asked for the body of Yeshua. Then Pilate commanded the body to be given, and having taken the body, Joseph wrapped it in clean linen, and laid it in his new tomb, which he had hewn out of the rock. And he rolled a large stone against the door of the tomb, and went away. And Miriam from Magdala was there. It just reminds me of that child. I don't know where this child was, Palestine or Iran. And these people that call themselves Jews, but they're not, and are the synagogue of Satan, they were bombing the area. And basically this child got bombed, and he said something like, God is going to repay you. And I think the child actually ended up dying. But it's like, the innocent, the blood of the innocents is on so many people's hands at this point. So it says, and Miriam from Magdala was there, and the other Miriam sitting opposite the tomb. On the next day, which was after the preparation, the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered together to Pilate, saying, Master, we remember while he was still alive how that deceiver said, after 3 days I am raised. Command then that the tomb be safeguarded until the 3rd day, lest his taught ones come by night and steal him away, and should say to the people, he was raised from the dead, and the last deception shall be worse than the first. So Pilate said to them, you have a watch, go safeguard it as you know how. And they went and safeguarded the tomb, sealing the stone and setting the watch. So also I want to bring up this Jade and Ivy thing. he seems like kind of a representation of what's going on with the righteous seed of the body of Christ, where they wanted to impel him, oh, you got mental illness, all this kind of stuff, and he was just preaching the word of God. He was telling the truth. Now, I don't know what's going on with him and his wife, but he said that his wife wasn't texting him back. She says that I've been with that man through thick and thin, and we were just texting this morning. I don't know what the truth is. But with a lot of people who choose to follow God in spirit and in truth, their family turns against them. That's what he was saying was happening. But I prayed for him. Hopefully he's legit and that kind of stuff. But the last time I checked, he was out street preaching. Now, while I don't agree with street preaching, it seems like he wants to give himself to God in fullness. And I personally, I don't think it's a coincidence, because God never wanted us to play all those sports anyway. Look at the book of Maccabees. Maybe it's either, I think it's maybe First Maccabees chapter 1, but he was upset when Israel built a gymnasium in Jerusalem. Those games belong to the Greeks and the Romans. They don't belong to us. So we get distracted by those games. Unfortunately, we end up marrying these people of these other nations, even the ones that claim that they're Christ, are following Christ. They're following the Constantinian Christ, not the true one. And so, we end up in turmoil. That's why he didn't want that to happen. Now, this is 28, so I'm going to read a little bit of it. So it says, "But late in the Sabbath, as it was dawning into day 1 of the week." Now, look at this. It says, "Miriam from Magdala and the other Miriam came to see the tomb. And see, there was a great earthquake, for a messenger of Yahweh had come out of the heaven, and came and rolled back the stone from the door, and sat on it. And his presence was like," it actually says brightness. I don't like that they use lightning. "And his garments were as white as snow, and the guards trembled for fear of him, and became like a dead man." So, he was actually raised on the Sabbath. This is very important, I believe, because he says that he will raise us up on the last day. And the last day is the Sabbath. So, if we're trying to deny the Sabbath, then you're going to have a problem. Now, his resurrection is called the first fruits. It's not called the resurrection. It's not called Easter. It's called first fruits. Although, we'll let it slide if you say the resurrection. But we know that these kind of names were put into place to deny, the truth of the appointed times. So, but yeah, he was raised on the Sabbath, and into the first day, he was no longer in the tomb. So, happy Passover to you guys. Happy unleavened bread. Happy first fruits. And yeah, if you are undergoing what's going on right now, if you're feeling it in the spirit, may the Father keep you in this time. 2 Corinthians 5. We'll read. Is it 2 Corinthians? Nah, I think it's 1 Corinthians. I think it's 1 Corinthians. But 2 Corinthians basically talks about, because we believe that we are impelled with Christ, and so you feel his body of death within you. But 1 Corinthians 5 says, and this is talking about a group of people, right, that are not doing their due diligence in removing someone who is being a fornicator and adulterer. So it says, "Your boasting is not good. Do you not know that a little leaven leavens the entire lump?" So this is talking about unleavened bread. "Therefore cleanse out the old leaven, so that you're a new lump, as you are unleavened. For also Messiah, our Passover, was slaughtered for us. So then let us celebrate the festival." He's saying celebrate the festival of unleavened bread, not with old leaven, nor with the leaven of evil and wickedness, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth. And it's crazy because I talked to one of these Pharisee Christians, and he basically said verbatim that it doesn't say celebrate the festival when Paul says right there, celebrate the festival. And then his attitude was just so nasty, and just then another one started character assassinating me. And these are the people that call themselves the children of Christ. They're not it. They're the Pharisees. Now, hopefully, there'll be one like Nicodemus that comes out that's like, you know what, I don't think I'm doing right. But that's not going to be the case for a lot of them. These scriptures have to be fulfilled, and there's always going to be people that are really not submitted. It's just the nature of things, I guess. Anyway, be blessed, y'all. Have a good day. See ya.